Okay, we're diving back into the Matt Gaetz saga today, and you might be thinking, didn't we already cover this? We did touch on it, but trust me, the latest developments are worth a closer look. We've got three brand new articles, all hitting the news in the past 24 hours. GOP rep Matt Gaetz attended drug-heavy sex party with 17-year-old. Legal docs, Matt Gaetz was at sex and drugs party with high school junior. Court docs, and get this, new docs reveal horrific extent of Matt Gaetz's creepy sex scandal. They're painting a pretty unsettling picture.
What's crucial here is that these sources go beyond the usual speculation. We're talking about sealed court documents, sworn affidavits, the kind of stuff that carries real weight legally, even if they were part of a lawsuit that's now been dropped.
Let's unpack exactly what these documents allege. All three articles point to this 2017 party hosted by Chris Dorworth, who, as you might remember, is a lobbyist and a close friend of Gaetz. Not just some random house party, though, right? These articles describe a scene straight out of a movie: cocaine, ecstasy, marijuana, and at the center of it, a 17-year-old girl. The fact that she was a high school junior at the time, driving her mom's car to get there, really drives home how young she was.
And this detail about Dorworth hosting is crucial. We're not just talking about youthful indiscretions here. This speaks to the circles Gaetz traveled in, the potential influence and power dynamics at play.
And that's where the legal lines start to get blurry. One witness claims the girl was naked, and the articles allude to sexual activities at the party. We're not talking about a harmless teenage party. This could potentially fall under statutory rape.
Exactly, and it's important for listeners to understand that statutory rape laws exist regardless of consent, because minors are deemed legally incapable of consenting to sexual activity with adults.
And to make matters even more complicated, the lawsuit that brought these affidavits to light was dropped. Why drop a lawsuit with this kind of potential evidence? It's definitely raising some eyebrows.
Dropping a lawsuit like this suggests a number of possibilities, none of them particularly favorable for Gaetz. It could indicate a settlement, an attempt to silence witnesses, or perhaps even a realization that the legal battle was becoming too risky.
Especially with the kind of evidence we're talking about. These aren't just rumors, these are sworn affidavits, and according to the articles, one of the witnesses is Gaetz's ex-girlfriend. This adds a whole new level of intrigue to the situation.
It does, and it'll be interesting to see how the House Ethics Committee, which is responsible for investigating misconduct by members of Congress, chooses to incorporate these new revelations into their ongoing investigation into Gaetz.
Their investigation has been going on for some time now. What have they been looking into specifically, and how might these latest accusations impact their findings?
They're examining a whole slew of allegations, from sexual misconduct and drug use to accepting improper gifts and obstructing justice. Essentially, they're trying to determine if Gaetz abused his power as a congressman. These new allegations, if proven true, could be incredibly damning in that context.
This is where things get really interesting for me. We're not just talking about a politician's personal life. This is about a potential abuse of power and potentially serious criminal charges.
Absolutely. And with sealed affidavits, now part of the public record, the potential legal ramifications for Gaetz are significant.
So let's assume for a moment that these allegations are true. What kind of consequences could Gaetz be facing? Could this be career-ending for him? We'll dive deeper into that after a quick break.
We're back, and before the break, we were getting into some pretty heavy stuff about the potential consequences facing Matt Gaetz.
And it's important to remember that Gaetz has denied all of these allegations, says it's all politically motivated.
Right, but let's say, just for the sake of this deep dive, that these accusations are proven true. What are we talking about here? What kind of fallout could Gaetz be looking at?
Well, on the legal side, the House Ethics Committee has a whole range of options.
Okay, like what?
They could issue a formal reprimand, censure him.
Which is basically a slap on the wrist, right?
Right.
It's more serious than that, a public condemnation by his peers. But they could even go as far as expulsion from Congress.
Wow. Expulsion? That's pretty rare, though, isn't it?
Extremely rare. It needs a 2/3 majority vote in the House.
Yeah.
But again, just the fact that it's even being considered shows how serious these accusations are.
And then there's the Department of Justice. Didn't they already look into Gaetz and decide not to prosecute?
They did. Initially declined to press charges, yeah.
So could they reopen the investigation based on this new information?
It's possible. Back then, they might have felt they didn't have a strong enough case, not enough to guarantee a conviction.
Yeah.
But these new affidavits, multiple witnesses, potentially even Gaetz's ex-girlfriend, that could change things.
That's got to be a game changer, right? Having his ex-girlfriend willing to testify against him.
It certainly adds fuel to the fire. Makes it a lot harder for the DOJ to just sweep this under the rug.
It's, like you said, one thing leads to another. This whole thing is like a snowball picking up speed. But even beyond the legal stuff, what about the court of public opinion? How badly could this hurt Gaetz's reputation, his career?
Well, let's be real. Even if he beats these charges, even if he's never found guilty of anything in a court of law, these allegations are going to stick with him.
Yeah, the damage is kind of already done, isn't it?
To some extent, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for him to shake this off.
And what about the Republican Party as a whole? How are they handling this?
It's a tough spot for them, frankly. Do they stand by Gaetz, show a united front, or do they distance themselves?
Because it seems like there's no easy answer there, right?
Exactly. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
If they support him, they risk alienating moderate voters, maybe even losing some of their base.
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to see that and think, okay, so the Republican Party is fine with protecting someone who might be a predator.
Precisely. It plays into this narrative that they're out of touch, more interested in protecting their own than doing what's right.
But then on the other hand, if they cut ties with Gaetz, they risk losing his supporters.
Right. And Gaetz, love him or hate him, he's a polarizing figure, but he's got a loyal following. They believe in him, and they see all this as a witch hunt.
So it's a tough call. What do you think? Will they stick with him or cut him loose?
Hard to say. I think they're going to try to walk that tightrope for as long as possible, avoid making a decision either way.
Lay low and hope it all blows over.
Exactly. But eventually, they're going to have to pick a side. And when they do, it's going to have major consequences.
We were getting into some pretty deep stuff before the break, thinking about the bigger picture here. This Matt Gaetz story. It's not just about him, is it?
It's so much bigger than one politician, right? It makes you wonder about power, about who gets away with what, and how we deal with these accusations, especially when it's someone with influence.
Exactly. It feels like every other week there's a new scandal, a new powerful man being accused of something awful, and it leaves you feeling, I don't know, disillusioned.
Absolutely. Like, has we just become numb to this? Is this just how it is?
Right. And what really gets me is the feeling that there's one set of rules for the rich and powerful and another set for everyone else.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what this case highlights, right? You've got these allegations, whispers for years, but it's only when you have these sealed documents, sworn affidavits, that's when people really start paying attention.
It makes you wonder, like, what else is hidden? What else don't we know about?
Exactly. And it really underscores the vital role of a free press, right? Without journalists digging into these stories, holding these powerful figures accountable, imagine where we'd be.
It's scary to even think about.
Yeah.
But even with the media shining a light on all this, it still feels like it's up to us, the public, to demand justice, to hold these people accountable.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's about staying informed, having those tough conversations, and refusing to let these things just slide. Because if we become complacent, if we accept this as just the way it is, well, that's when things really start to fall apart.
So where do we go from here? What can we actually do about it?
Well, for starters, stay engaged. Read those articles we mentioned. Don't just skim the headlines. Educate yourself on the issues.
And don't be afraid to talk about it, right? Even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Have those conversations with your friends, your family. And most importantly, make your voice heard. Contact your representatives. Let them know that you're paying attention, that you demand better. Because silence, that's what allows this kind of behavior to flourish.
This has been a wild deep dive, and definitely not the most uplifting topic, but it's so crucial to shed light on these issues, to have these conversations, because that's the first step towards creating a more just and equitable world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And as always, we encourage everyone listening to seek out the source material, dive deeper into this story, and form your own conclusions. Because the more informed we are, the better equipped we are to hold those in power accountable.